بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Out of the 114 chapters in the Quran, out of the 114 surahs in the Quran, there's one specific surah that is known as the surah of adab, the surah of good character, of etiquette, of akhlaq, and that is surah 49, surah al-Hujurat. And within this surah, also known as the surah of adab, within this surah we have a very specific ayah, a very specific verse. This is ayah 13, in which Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. Allah addresses mankind. And one thing that I want to highlight about this ayah, and this is important for us to keep in mind whenever we go through the Quran, if we notice certain patterns, then once you start to pick up on a pattern and then there's something different, when there's a break in that pattern, the purpose of that is to grab your attention. It's definitely not random. Nothing in the Quran is random. It is all by design, you could say. In this surah, in Surah Al-Hujurat, again, the surah of adab, there are 5 different verses out of 18. The entire surah has 18 verses. Out of them, 5 ayahs begin with the phrase, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. So from the very beginning of the surah, in ayah number 1, O you who believe. Ayah number 2, O you who believe. Ayah number 6, O you who believe. Ayah 11, O you who believe. Ayah 12, O you who believe. So there, you notice something here. Allah consistently is saying and repeating, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Out of the first 12 ayahs, 5 of them start with, O you who believe. This is interesting. Allah is telling us, it's as if Allah is grabbing the believer by the collar, so to speak, and is saying, pay attention to this. Wake up and pay attention to this. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulihi wattaqullah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tarfa'u aswatakum fawqa sawti an-nabi. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم. So you have this pattern. Allah is telling the community of believers, look internally, look internally, look internally, look internally, look internally. And with each time Allah says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا in the surah, the feeling is like the volume is getting louder and louder and louder. 5 different times Allah says, O you who believe. And then Allah gets to ayah 13. The feeling is the first 12 ayahs build up to, especially ayah 13. What does ayah 13 consist of? At the very beginning of it, you find the tone shifting gears a little bit. A person would probably expect this ayah to start with, O you who believe, to start with, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Because we just had 5 out of the first 12 verses start with, O you who believe. But then in ayah 13, there's a change, there's something different. Instead of the ayah beginning with, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, Allah begins with, Ya ayyuhan nas. Allah zooms out of the community of Muslims. Allah zooms out of this faith-based community. Allah zooms out and Allah addresses all of mankind. Ya ayyuhan nas, all of mankind, O mankind, you were created from one male and one female. All of you have the same father in Adam and the same mother in Eve. So by extension, the rest of us, in some way, shape, or form, we're all related. We're all family, you could say, the human family. Allah says in Surah Isra, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah says there is no doubt that we have honored the royal we have honored humankind, we have honored the children of Adam. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Right? So here Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى. O mankind, we have created you from one male and one female. And then after that, we made you into nations and tribes. So you may know one another. So you can know your family, you can know your cousins, you can know your culture, your subculture, so on and so forth. But then Allah transitions from that. So Allah focuses on the good in different cultures, different nations and tribes, you could say, different groups of people. But then Allah gets to the root of the ayah. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. And in reality, this is the root of the entire surah. The most noble among you with God are those who are most pious. Yes, people have different nations and tribes, and you have different races and ethnicities. Yes, but what truly matters with Allah is not your race, is not your ethnicity, is not your skin tone, is not your language, it's not your ancestry, it's not your wealth, it's not your socioeconomic status. Okay, then what is it? Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The only thing that truly matters with Allah, the only thing that truly has any weight, any gravity with Allah Azza wa Jal, is the condition of the heart of the person. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. There's no doubt the most noble among you with God are those who are most pious, are those who are most righteous, are people of taqwa. The Prophet pointed to his chest 3 times and he said, At-taqwa hahuna. That taqwa is here, piety is here. And I'll conclude with this. Notice at the end of the ayah, one of the most beneficial things we can do when we connect with the Quran is to look at the Quran, to look at the ayah through the lenses of the names of God that are mentioned within the ayah. So if there's an ayah that ends with God is most wise, most knowledgeable, we should reflect on the ayah through those lenses of those specific names. It's very interesting at the end of this ayah, and this ayah really tackles the issue of racism at the knees. It really just reaches in and it yanks out that weed. At least it's supposed to. So if a Muslim reads this ayah, yet they still have that weed of racism in their heart, then there's some massive issues that need to be worked out internally within that individual. How does Allah end this ayah after Allah says, we all of you, mankind, you come from one mother, from one father, one mother, and then you are made into different groups of people. And the most noble among you with God, right, are those who are most pious. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. How does Allah end the ayah? Inna Allah alimun khabir. It's interesting. Allah does not say that He is forgiving and merciful. No, no, no. When it comes to this issue of racism, what does Allah highlight? Inna Allah alimun khabir. Allah is most knowledgeable, most aware. So if someone does good, Allah is most knowledgeable of it and most aware of it. And the flip side, and if someone does bad, if someone harbors enmity in their hearts towards a fellow human being just because of their skin color, because of their race, their ethnicity, their nationality, whatever it may be, this is a threat from Allah when you look at it in that way. Allah knows about that. You can go and deceive this or that person. You're not deceiving Allah. Inna Allah alimun khabir. There's no doubt Allah is most knowledgeable, most aware. Allah is telling us that He knows what's in the heart in terms of good and also lack thereof. We ask Allah to help us to put in the work to purify our hearts. We ask Allah to help us with this process, this lifelong process of tazkiyatun nafs, purification of the heart. We ask Allah to forgive our mistakes, and we ask Allah to accept any good that we try to do. We ask Allah for justice for George Floyd. We ask Allah to give justice to his friends and family members, not just him, but for anyone and everyone else affected by this issue. We ask Allah for justice, and we ask Allah to make us people who stand up for what's right, to make us people of justice as well. The question in this situation is not where is God, rather the question is, where are the people of God? Kunu rabbaniyin. Right? Be people of God. Be lordly people. We ask Allah for that. We ask Allah to guide us in the right direction. We ask Allah to guide us down the straight path and to make us agents of justice, those who stand up for what's right. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. The ayah has to be earned. The concept of you are the best nation sent forth to mankind. Okay, but what's the qualifier? You enforce what's right, you forbid what's wrong, and you believe in God. In terms of patterns, there's a unique pattern in this ayah. Allah mentions the actions before the iman. Typically you find الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, but when Allah changes it, Allah's grabbing our attention. Right? This is a unique ayah, and if we want to live it, we need to try our best, and we need to ask Allah to help us to try our best, and we ask Allah to guide us on the right direction. Amin Rabbil Alameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.